Despite what you may have heard, Florida vegetable gardening does not have to mean stressing over watering, pest control, and fertilizer schedules. Let me share with you in this video how I would create a low-maintenance Florida vegetable garden. We'll talk about easy crops, pest prevention techniques that are not constant sprays, and how to skip that fertilizer. Let's get into it. One of the best things that we can do for a low-maintenance Florida vegetable garden is to plant some Florida-friendly vegetables. Florida-friendly vegetables love our heat and our humidity and even our summer heavy rains. A lot of these Florida-friendly crops are also rarely affected by major pests or diseases. Some of these crops include Malabar spinach, sweet potatoes, okra, southern peas, collards, Everglades tomatoes, green onions, and eggplant. Also Seminole pumpkins, yard-long beans, and hot peppers. Along with our Florida-friendly crops, our gardens will easily thrive all year round if we focus on perennial herbs. Now, perennial herbs tend to have a woody stem, so they include things like rosemary, thyme, oregano, sage, and even chives. Right here you can see I've got thyme growing in my raised bed, and it looks great with very little effort. I expect that thyme plant to last for years in the garden. On the flip side, here is a basil plant. A basil plant is an annual herb, and I would not recommend it for a low-maintenance Florida vegetable garden. These will need to be planted in the spring and replanted in the fall to get a harvest. They just won't make it through the summer heat and the summer rain. You can see right now it's flowering, and it won't be long before the plant is done. Let me take a quick moment to introduce myself. My name's Jen and I'm here in Melbourne, Florida, which is Zone 10A for gardening. And I started this YouTube channel to document my journey with learning how to garden in my suburban backyard in hopes that I could inspire others to grow as well. If this sounds like content that you're interested in watching, check out some of the other videos on my channel and hit that subscribe button. Now let's get back to the video. Now, it's definitely true that our bug population, especially in the summer, just gets crazy. In a low-maintenance garden, what we don't want to do is be spraying, whether it's organic or non-organic pesticides, all over the garden. Just the repetitive commitment that's required to keep the pests at bay when using these sprays is enough to not call it low maintenance, right? So instead of relying on our sprays to manage the pests in our garden, another technique could be companion planting. You'll notice here I have marigolds planted in the garden. Marigolds especially are great at deterring some of our soil-borne pests like root knot nematodes. These are a companion plant that I highly recommend planting next to some of those Florida-friendly crops like sweet potatoes and okra that are known to be host crops for root knot nematodes. Another example is planting nasturtium flowers right next to something that might be affected by sucking insects like aphids. Nasturtiums are known to be trap crops for aphids, so this is a great way to get the pests attracted to the flowers and keep them off of your crop without frequent spraying. Now, although companion planting has its benefits, and I really do believe it works, I recommend pairing companion planting with overplanting. And by that I mean if you think your family only needs one pepper plant, go ahead and plant two in case the aphids take over one of them. This Easy Cube self-watering planter from Vigo Garden is perfect for a Florida vegetable garden that's low maintenance. You simply fill up this reservoir full of water, fill the planter with some high quality potting soil, compost, peat moss, and worm castings, and you've got the perfect environment for vegetables. There's even an air vent over here to keep your soil and your water well aerated, and a drain right here in case of overflow. I love that it's elevated so you don't even have to bend over to harvest anything. And if you use my code Space Coast Harvest 10 off, you can get $10 off of yours today at vigogarden.com. My third tip for a low maintenance vegetable garden in Florida involves some time up front for setup. A drip irrigation system, especially on an automated timer, can make gardening so easy. Part of what makes drip irrigation so great is that it's really a deep, slow watering, and it soaks the soil all the way down without overwatering. A way that we can protect the soil moisture a little bit more is by heavily mulching the top of our raised beds. You'll notice here that I really don't have a deep mulch situation. It's time for me to mulch again. But it really does keep the soil moist right under that layer of mulch. This is something that we absolutely need to pay attention to in Florida. Now, if you're interested in learning about how to set up a drip system, I'm going to be making some changes in my garden and adding a brand new drip system. So stay tuned. I think I'll get that video out in the next week or two. So for a low maintenance vegetable garden, so far we know we need to be planting easy crops We need to do some companion planting for pest prevention, and we need to set up an easy watering system. But what about fertilizer? A lot of these crops are heavy feeders and need a lot of nutrients as the season goes on. What I recommend for a low-maintenance vegetable garden in Florida is seasonal soil amendments. To the top of our raised bed at the beginning of every season, we need to be adding lots of organic compost. Organic compost is full of nutrients and full of beneficial microbes that those plants will feed on throughout the entire season. I also want to show you a couple other amendments which you can add at the same time as the compost at the beginning of the season, and your garden will thrive for months and months. I tend to add a heavy amount of earthworm castings. Earthworm castings can help make your garden soil nicely aerated instead of getting compact with all that compost. It's also a very mild fertilizer for your garden, so you can add as much or as little earthworm casting as you'd like. One Florida-specific soil amendment that I highly recommend adding is crab meal. Crab meal is something that's really going to increase the population of the beneficial microbes which feed on plant parasitic nematodes in your soil. So this amendment will virtually eliminate your microscopic soil-borne pests. This is a 5-pound bag here, and I'm going to spread all of it throughout my 100 square foot garden every season. I also want to mention a third one, and this one, it's an organic slow-release fertilizer that also has a benefit of pest control. Now, I've used it this past season, and I used it throughout my entire garden, so I don't have an area where I could compare to see if it worked really well or not, but I can tell you, I just feel like I've noticed a lot fewer pests than I have in past years, and I think it's due to this neem seed meal. I'll drop a link to all of these soil amendments below. With soil amendments, these are something that you'll be adding on a seasonal basis, so probably once every 3 months, and then you should have about 3 months of not needing to do any fertilizer in your garden. If you're in Florida and you want more harvest for less work, remember, plant easy crops and perennials. Companion plant for pest control. Set up a drip irrigation system, and keep your soil amendments in rotation every 3 months. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and I'll see you next time.